Is this on the air, this tape, or
This will be broadcasted. Okay. Well, where did Frank Marino begin?
It was a music co-op we used to rent for $1 a day.
What kind of songs did you play when you began?
As a matter of fact, it was mostly Hendrix and Clapton.
Yeah.
Hendrix, a lot of Hendrix, a lot of Clapton.
All right.
A lot of Cream, you know. We did things like Crossroads and Spoonful.
All right.
And we did things like, we did all the Hendrix material, you know, like even the odd Hendrix material that most people don't do, you know. House Burning Down and 1983 and stuff like that, you know. Whereas most bands that covered Hendrix did like only Purple Haze or Foxy Lady or stuff, you know.
Yeah. Led me to wonder about any kind of horn backings or any kind of backings, and wondering if horn backings pay off.
Well, I think that the days when we would have used horns for backing or stuff like that, it's sort of different today because we're in a very electronic age. And today, if you have a couple of keyboard players, basically with the kind of synthesizers like the Prophet 10 and the new the Fairlight synthesizers and stuff that people have today, you can basically get any kind of background. But it's more electronic, you know, and we're sort of an electronic band, so
Yeah.
I like to do, if I do use backup and background for fullness, I'd rather use synthesizer type of background. You could even make it sound like horns if you wanted to.
Have you ever considered a slight blend of country?
Well, I've never really considered it, but you know, I don't really see it fitting in with the kind of electronic music I do, but I guess the thing about country that people like today is not so much the sound of it or the actual instrumentation, it's more the feel, you know. And you can get that kind of a feel in a rock vein too, you know, although it won't sound at all like country, you know.
Yeah. Like what kind of a feel more specifically is that? Is that a rhythmic and something that the people identify with as far as their lifestyle, or something they're hoping to identify with?
Well, if you mean like country, what the kind of feel country is, which isn't what we do. Country to me is always just kind of a nonchalance, you know, an easygoingness. But you know, you can create that mood in rock or in blues too, you know.
Right.
Depends, you know.
I was going to ask your opinion about Eric Clapton's step toward country, because he joined up with Delaney and Bonnie and Friends.
I think that Eric got into a sort of a thing, you know, where, you know, he was walking around London and stuff, and he would see graffiti written on the walls that Eric Clapton was God and stuff, and he found it very hard to live up to that kind of thing, you know. And I think that he wanted to, particularly when he went into the Lytle tour and stuff like that, he just wanted to break away from that whole thing, and he, you know, changed his look and everything about him, and he got like singers and stuff, and I think he did it more or less on purpose to forcibly break away from what was Eric Clapton up until then, and he did it successfully, and I have to respect him for, he took a big chance, you know, like a lot of people wouldn't take a chance like that. They'd figure, well, we're very comfortable where we are, you know, but he took a big chance for the good of his art, and I have to respect him for that. But then again, he always was a pioneer, so. I also think that with the coming of Jimi Hendrix, he kind of passed the mantle of grace on to Hendrix, you know. So it's sort of like, Jimmy, you can have it, and I'm going to country, you know.
What do you feel about competition amongst contemporary guitarists, and is it a constructive thing, or is it really quite different from the football arena or anything else?
Well, I think you said it quite well. I think that the competition should be left for the football arenas and the hockey arenas and the baseball arenas. I don't think there should be a competitiveness in music. If there is a competitiveness, I think it should be ideally amongst the writers of music who like compete to make more songs. You know, in the end, what it'll do is it'll come out being more songs for the public. You know what I'm saying? If everyone competes, but I don't think there should be a competitiveness as to say, well, I'm better than him or they're better than they are. I don't think you can look at art that way. It's very hard to look at two paintings by two famous artists and say that one is a better painting than another. One might suit your mood at a moment, while the other might suit your mood at another moment. So neither one is better than the other, and that's the way I feel about it. I think if you do have that, if you do find musicians that have that attitude, then they're not musicians, not at all, you know. They're just competing for the bucks, and the bucks should never have been part of this art. It just became part of this art, and I think in many ways the acquisition of a lot of dollars and a lot of power and a lot of fame has ruined our art and brought our music down to a degraded level. And I, for one, just want to be good enough so that when the people come to see me, they'll say, yeah, the guy really can play, he really is good, he really tries hard, and I'd go to see him again. You know?
Yeah, I could definitely vouch for that, because a lot of musicians will not play the 2-hour set. Oh, I also thought it was beautifully reminiscent of the Hendrix era, that you played the All Along the Watchtower solo, note for note the way Hendrix played that.
Well, that's a lot to do with the fact that when we recorded it on our album, we did it very much that way.
Yeah.
We covered it quite, like we decided when we were going to cover that tune that we wanted to cover it in that vein, and not really differently.
What kind of things do you look for in a guitar solo?
Very often we'll try more than one and take the best one or the best parts of a few. But what I'm really looking for, you know, talking in a live vein now, not in the studio, because in the studio you have all the time in the world to do what you want and analyze the tune. Sometimes it takes 2 months to do one song. But live, you're one-on-one, you got to do the song, you got 5 minutes to do it, and you know, from beginning to end. I think what I look for in a guitar solo is something appropriate for the song. If the song's like high gear and going, then I want to do a solo that's high gear and going. But if the song is melodic and bluesy and got some kind of feel, then I'm looking for the right sound more than the right solo. And I'm looking to maybe use, you know, you don't always have to play 60 miles an hour. You know, you could sometimes do some really nice, sweet, slow material like we did in the tune Poppy tonight, which is sort of a jazz fusion tune. Almost,
I remember that,
you know.
yeah. You were playing octaves in that song, right?
Yeah.
What would you attribute the improvement in modern guitar as we know it, as far as the days go by, the years go by? I see an improvement, like I see a lot faster, more precise lick, you know, like, such as Eddie Van Halen or yourself, as compared to maybe some of the really early Yardbirds licks that were played by Clapton and Jimmy Page.
Well, that's hard to say, because you see a guy like myself today, and it's 1983, and I'm a guy who was playing around the same time with those other groups you mentioned. And I was playing the same way then as I'm playing now. Oh. So if you see a large resurgence or a surgence of guitar players today who are techno players, like Eddie Van Halen or Angus Young or all these, or the guy from the Scorpions, what's his name, Michael Schenker, these people, to me I find it kind of funny that so many people are turning on to this, because it's something I was doing so many years ago, and that at that time it was very hard for me to get a gig doing it that many years ago, you know. And a lot of people think I'm very new on the scene today, or that I'm doing something totally different. But if you go back to my first album, you hear the same licks and leads and speed and the techno wizardry, you know. I think the kind of music I'm doing, okay, is and that I have been doing for 10 years, and the kind of playing I've been doing for 10 years, is only now beginning to come to fore, you know. And I think that, like, the fact that more and more people are doing it today only testifies to the things that I said 10 years ago, that one day people would be doing what I was doing then. You know what I mean?